Welcome back, everybody, to the PDPreps Podcast. We missed you guys. It's been a while. Gus Morris, Kienan O'Doherty, sports reporter for the Press Democrat, checking in again. It has been a while, but we are back, which can only mean one thing. Football is back. High school football season is kicking off this week here in the North Bay. We will be coming to you guys every week. Trying to take on a little bit of a new format here, switching it up a little bit from last year. I'll get into that here real quick. We have quite a bit to cover in our first pod of the 2025 season. But Keenan, good to see you again. I know obviously, we've been working all off season and, grinding and making sure we know everything going on, heading into the football season. But you enjoy the off season. Summer was good for you.
Yeah, summer was good. Summer was indeed good. Was able to take some trips, stuff like that. I know you were able to as well. Seems like every year we come back to this thing. The year just goes by quicker and quicker, and all of a sudden, boom, it's back in football season. But yeah, it was a good summer and ready to roll again.
Yeah, I mean every year you're right, it seems like summer is shorter and shorter. So especially, honestly this year too with baseball season, going so long into the, like running into the first week of June. So
we must be getting older, Gus.
Man, I know it seems like summer vacation is getting shorter and shorter here. But anyway, we are excited to be back. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about kind of what this pod will look like this year, and kind of what we got in store for you guys coming up this season, and what we we'll be talking about this week. So I think last year we had kind of switched up the pod to be a little shorter, just for time constraints, taking a little bit off of our plates each week. We talked about, I think it was, we discussed our weekly rankings, our top 7. Well, we kind of have a cool project that I guess by the time you're watching this, that'll be out. We'll talk about that in a second, but we're not going to be doing our rankings anymore this year. So we had to figure out, all right, how, what are we going to do, for our podcast this year? So we're instead going to be talking about, I think every week, kind of our weekly takeaways, from the games that happened the previous week. So kind of a sort of like how I guess we've done it in the past, but maybe just pared down a little more. Maybe not talking about, all 10 or 15 games or whatever that was that were going on, but taking really our top 4, top 5, kind of key things that we saw, the week before and talking about those. So think of it as like our analysis piece that we kind of put out every, at the tail end of, once games are done every week. We talk about kind of our big takeaways and stuff that we kind of glean from that week. Our pod is kind of going to be, I guess the video format of those stories, I guess. So we'll kind of go a little bit more in depth, talking about those storylines, takeaways, things that we learned, each week. So obviously, though, with this week, since we haven't had any games yet, we're going to be talking a bit about the top storylines that we're going to be watching for the 2025 season up here in the North Bay. We wrote kind of a story about this, I think over the weekend. I think that ran on Sunday. We'll be talking about, obviously, the big new exciting era at Cardinal Newman, talking about St. Vincent and American Canyon, looking to defend their state titles. And we'll also be kind of discussing, the second year of the Redwood Empire Conference, kind of what it, what we're expecting from it. And then also the controversial competitive equity playoff format of the North Coast section will be rolling around again this year. But before we kind of get into all that stuff, like I said, we're not going to be doing our rankings this year. That is because we're going to be replacing it with a fun new project that I'm very excited to unveil. Again, by the time you're watching this, it should be out. The first ever North Bay football poll. So Keenan, myself, our sports editor, Corey Young, are all on are part of a group of 8 sports writers from, who have covered all of the, who've covered all the teams and all the regions, up here in the North Bay. We are all going to be voting every week, a la the AP poll, and coming up with our top 10 teams for that week. This is encompassing the entire North Bay. So Marin teams are now included. Napa teams were included last year in our rankings, and of course our Sonoma teams as well. So the first one, again, by the time you're watching this, is probably out by now, but very excited to kind of get this thing up and rolling. A cool little, collaborative, piece of work that I've been excited to kind of, work on behind the scenes. But, we have Ian Ross and Derek Wilson from the Marin Independent Journal, who are also going to be voting on that. So we'll have some Marin experts involved. Then we also have Vince D'Adamo and Kyle Foster over from Napa. Both of them are freelancers right now for the Napa Valley Register. Vince used to be a staff writer and reporter for Napa, or for the Napa Valley Register for years. So he brings a lot of good Napa expertise, as does Kyle. Who is the executive owner and publisher of Napa Sports News, which is a fun little site, that covers everything, going on over in Napa. Then we also have Daniel Poulter, who has been a longtime freelancer for honestly all three of these publications. He's also a contributor for Cal High Sports as well, which is one of the oldest premier publications, in the state. So 8 people, or 8 sports writers, all with lots of, again, expertise in this area, people who know these teams very intimately, have been covering them for years. And yeah, we're going to all put our knowledge to the test and kind of do our own little version of like an AP poll here for North Bay football teams. And it should be a lot of fun to do week in and week out and see kind of where where teams stack up, how we all think. So again, lots of people with different areas of expertise, and I think it should make for a pretty fun project this year.
Yeah, no doubt. And this also means that there are more people to get mad at if you disagree with our rankings, not just Gus and I. So so the target's not as big on us. But no, this is fantastic. This is a fantastic group. We were already looking at, just the first week of this, putting it all together, kind of seeing what other people's thoughts were. And it's always going to be very interesting week by week, as these matchups unfold. And obviously, we'll talk about this in a bit, but we have already got some mouthwatering week 1 matchups, which could already change some things, Gus. So it's gonna be very interesting, this project, and I'm happy you've done a great job taking the lead on it. And yeah, this will be fun and a little bit different compared to what we've done in the past. But yeah, well, I'm ecstatic for it.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And again, I've said this a couple times, but if you are watching this now, the poll will hopefully have been released by now. I think it's supposed to be releasing. We are. I should also say I should have let this off. We're recording this on Tuesday, August 26th, the first official week of games starting up here. So I guess I should be okay to kind of tell you about which teams are ranked where. So so our top 10. This, for the preseason, the first ever North Bay football poll, Cardinal Newman is checking in at number 1, 77 total points. They had 5 first place votes. Coming in not far behind them is Marin Catholic, had 73 points. They had the other 3 first place votes. So no other team got any first place votes. It was just Newman and Marin Catholic. So it was interesting to kind of see how that broke down. But yeah, Cardinal Newman is your pretty hands-on favorite number 1 team here to start the year. Then we go San Marin with 60 points, Windsor with 53 points, St. Vincent checking in at number 5 with 51 points. Number 6 is Rancho Cotati with 38 points. 7 is Casa Grande with 32 points. 8 is Vintage with 24 points. 9 is American Canyon with 21 points. And 10 is Ukiah with 5 points. We also had Tamalpais and Redwood from down in Marin receiving points. Tam had 3. Redwood had 2. A quick note on how on the vote, I guess the points breakdown. Number 1 teams will get 10 points. Number 2 will get 9. 3 will get 8, so on and so forth, all the way down 10. Number 10, in everyone's individual poll will get 1 point. So everyone submits their own top 10 every week. We assign points to every position of the teams that they're in, and then we calculate those, and that becomes our poll for that week. So again, just like the AP poll. So yeah, very excited to kind of see how this breaks down. This year, Newman and Marin Catholic, obviously have been, the 2 top teams, in the area for who knows, a long time.
Yes.
Windsor obviously, has been in the mix here, the last couple of years, with some really strong, classes, the last 3-4 years. Interesting for me, at least, is seeing St. Vincent kind of, rise up here. I know that we had them in our individual poll or in our individual rankings, I think finished the year last year, top 3 behind Newman and Windsor. Yep. But now, we're having them preseason, debut here against, some of the big top premier schools, like again, Rancho Cotati, Casa, Vintage, American Canyon coming out of a state title. So definitely excited to see what St. Vincent has got in store for us this year. But yeah, also excited to see how this poll we'll shake out for us this year. So stay tuned for more on that. But yeah, I think we're just going to jump right into our kind of big storylines to watch here then for the year. We're going to start off with the biggest one. If unless you've been living under a rock, you will you would not know that Cardinal Newman is currently, under new leadership, with a big name. Frank McManus, the former head coach at Mater Dei, has taken over at Cardinal Newman. This is it was a big hire. I think it happened back in April. Head coach Richard Sanchez left for a Division III college job down in down in Southern California. McManus was hired, I want to say a month or so after that. It was a pretty, probably the highest profile hire that we've ever had up here. For sure, I think in Sonoma County, if not the entire North Bay. McManus was a 16-year assistant at Mater Dei. He took over the program when longtime head coach Bruce Rawlinson retired. I think that was in 22, maybe 23. I think it was after 23. McManus was there for 1 year. Led the Monarchs to, I think it was a 12-1 season, CIF Open Division state champions, kind of continuing the legacy that they've had at their program. Made some headlines. He was let go from his, from that job about 6 months after. A lot of kind of mystery around that. He hasn't really answered a lot of questions about that. Didn't really answer a lot of questions. When I had asked him about it, just said it was time for something new. I think at the very least, him coming up here to Northern California is a fresh start for him. I talked to him, the other week at practice. He said it's a lot slower up here. He said it's good for him. He said it's maybe a good thing for him to kind of catch his breath and step back and try to build a program up here in Northern California where it's not as kind of breakneck speed and rat racy as it down in as it is down in SoCal. So the Cardinals were already set to be probably the top team as far as returning talent this year. You go down the list. They bring back, I think it was eight or nine, I think, of their 16 all-league players last year. And that includes pretty much all of their talent at skill positions. 2 all-league wide receivers in Zion Cargill, Jonah Bertoli. You have the rising quarterback star Nalti Retamosa. Some linemen who are incredibly talented, Khalil Vaitoy, Devin Bertoli. The cupboards were already pretty stock full. And now when you have a coach like McManus who brings with him, a pedigree like he does, and a winning pedigree, and he just talking to some other coaches who are on his staff and people who are old time Newman folks, but who are kind of first getting to know him. They're like, man, this guy sees the game a different way. So Newman is definitely set for a. Again, they're the number 1 team on our poll. They debuted, I think, at number 6 on the Max Preps ranking. So, I'd say hats off to Newman for accepting the fact that, hey, they're going to be an open division team as long as this playoff format is in place, and they're leaning into that. They're going, hey, we're going to try to compete here with the big dogs like De La Salle, Pittsburgh, San Ramon Valley. It'll be a fascinating year to watch. Newman again has a loaded roster. They're also bolstering it with some pretty talented transfers. A lot of those kids are going to be eligible towards the latter end of the season. So Newman is definitely again, we'll see how the talent that they have coming back will definitely be kind of put through its paces to start the year. They have a brutal non-league schedule. But yeah, I think this Newman team is definitely, I think, set to really try to climb the ladder and become one of the top teams in the NCS. Not just one of the top, smaller school programs. So yeah, the Mater Dei, former Mater Dei head coach Frank Manis is now at Newman. It should lead to some fireworks, I think, this year, and for the foreseeable future over at Cardinal Newman.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it's worth mentioning, Gus, because you were there last year, how close they really were to, getting to that section title game, right? It was like 7-0 against, section powerhouse in San Ramon Valley, where it just came on like a air, I'm pretty sure. I know you were there as well. So we'll see, if McManus is, that final key in the cog that can take them to that next step. And, his pedigree, like you said, basically, says he will, but obviously, nothing is certain until you get on the field itself and put those pads on and the whistle blows. So we'll see, man. It's gonna be interesting with Newman. I know you mentioned some of their big returners. Obviously, they lost probably a lot of their biggest strength last year, which was their line, particularly their defensive line. I know, like you said, Khalil Vaitoy is back, Devin Bertoli is back. There'll be key cogs on both sides of the ball, but Oregon State. Oregon State guy Jesse Myers, that's a big loss. Jimmy McKenzie down at USD, that's a big loss as well. So yeah, we'll see how they respond, and we'll see how they rebound. And at a place like Cardinal Newman, they don't really seem to have much trouble rebounding or reloading or anything like that. So yeah, we'll see how the season unfolds for them, and it'll be exciting to watch. And like you said, they have some mouth-watering clashes coming up, starting with week 1. Honestly, it just starts right out of the gate. So
yeah, I mean it's this is not the schedule that McManus made, but Newman will be playing its first 2 games against Manteca, who is a top. I think they started the year as a top 40 team. I want to say in the Cal High Sports rankings, and then so first week they play Manteca at home. Second week they play Grant, who
was just on ESPN.
Just on ESPN. Wasn't their best showing on ESPN, I will say that much, but they're coming off a Division II AA state a title last year, and just crazy athleticism, crazy speed, tons of talent. I think they had something like 13, 14 D1 commits or something insane like that. So that's going to be, again, first 2 weeks will tell us a lot about how Newman's season could go this year. But like I said too, they have some big name transfers coming in too towards the end. Who will be eligible for the latter half of the year. So I imagine come league play, they're just going to be even better, especially being bad, after being battle tested for the first couple of weeks. So again, Newman is going to be an exciting watch this year. A lot of talent, big new head coach. It should be a fun time to watch. So we will have that covered in depth plenty. Moving on real quick, Keenan, we have 2 teams that, once again, I was not able to watch at our state championships bowl games last year, but you were a lucky dog. So
I think you learned your lesson the past 2 years, Gus. I hear you don't have any vacation planned for that.
The first time I do go down and see a state championship game, the local team will probably lose. So I think you should keep on with your good luck this year. So we'll see.
I'm knocking on wood, man. I don't want to jinx anything, but yeah. So after last year, we were pretty, like flabbergasted that the fact we were talking about a team that had won state championship, but this year coming in now we have 2. So I don't even know what to make of it anymore. The talent in this area is just keep getting better and better. But yeah, we have 2 state champions we're going to talk about looking to defend their titles. First one, obviously, is going to be St. Vincent, first team in area history to win two football state titles, let alone back-to-back state titles, 2 different divisions. Remember in 2023 they won the 6AA title and then got bumped up 2 divisions this past year for the 4AA title, in which they upped the competition level for sure, but they definitely proved their worth. And with St. Vincent, it's crazy to say this, but they still return so many guys from those championship teams. I mean, this senior class is one of the most experienced classes in all of NCS, in all of the NCS, to be honest with you. And that goes to show with their star backfield, Gabe Casanovas, Mason Catarelli, who as sophomores, led St. Vincent to their first state title, and then obviously as juniors last year, did the same thing. So now, as seniors, who knows what they're going to do if they stay healthy, right?
It is crazy to think that some of the sophomore class that has been here, or the senior class that has been here since they were sophomores, a lot of them have already played. I mean, again, just in the last 3 years, like 2 years, have played essentially 3 years worth of games because they have played so deep in the playoffs. I mean, these, the kids who started as sophomores, have played 30 games, back-to-back 15-game seasons, which is crazy. So I'd say as deep of a wealth of experience as you can have from any team in the area.
Yeah, absolutely, and they do bring a lot of guys back. A lot of they did lose some big pieces like Robert Brooks, who's now at Rice. He was probably one of the best linemen in school history and one of the best linemen in the North Bay for sure. But they do bring some experienced linemen back. Lance Wegman, he's back. Merrimack college commit, I believe, he's back. CJ Perez is back. They have some good transfers like Lorenzo Webb over from Vintage, who sat out all last year due to injury, but was a first-team All-League player. The year before that, a sophomore, they have some good skill position players coming back. George Chaput, Frankie Monticello. So quarterback Gabe Casanovas definitely has some weapons. And that also doesn't include, Montgomery transfer Jaden Quellar, who was a all-league player last year. So they return a ton. And their defense also is going to be insane as well. But their schedule is no joke either. I mean, they have three state champions on the schedule, Gus. They have Woodland Christian, who was a 2023 state champion. American Canyon. They'll play them this year in the second week of preseason, and then obviously you also got Arcata, who was a state champion last year as well. Not to mention local powerhouse Gus Rancho Cotati. So talk about up in the competition last year. How about this year? This preseason is going to be, it could tell a lot about who St. Vincent is. As Trent Herzog told me, he goes, well, we could be either 4-1, we could be 1-4. Who the heck knows? I mean, this schedule is no joke. And I will say before I hand it over to you, Gus, that it's so easy now to think about a 3P now that you won two, right? But the energy around St. Vincent is, they're not even really thinking about the 3P. They don't even like to throw the number 3 around. They just want to focus 1 week at a time. Obviously, the community might be a different story because, they're all excited and everything like that. But, the Mustangs are just so focused right now on just, the first week, getting past Woodland Christian, moving on 1-0, and then keeping that rolling through the rest of the league slate. But yeah. Who knows? Who knows what this year has in store for St. Vincent? Being based on how they've been playing the past couple of years. I mean, I don't see them really playing any differently or them slowing down this year at all. So we'll see how it goes.
I think the two interesting storylines to follow this year with St. Vincent, kind of in the big picture. One, I do love that some larger schools in the area have stepped up to schedule them. I know in years past, it's kind of been like a no-win situation for a school like Rancho or a school like Windsor or whoever else to schedule a Division 7 school like St. Vincent. It's like, all right, well, if we win, it doesn't help us out much. We're expected to win. And if we lose, well, that's a pretty bad mark on your program. Just, again, losing to a school with 180 kids or whatever it is. Now, again, in this new era of competitive equity, it doesn't really matter how big or small your school is. It's all about your ranking, where you stack up in the computer, statistics or algorithm. So Rancho, I love to see this, that Rancho is stepping up and playing these guys. That's going to be a fascinating game. October 4th, going to be, I think it's, Saturday. So a Saturday afternoon game for Rancho. I don't think they play. Rancho does not play many Saturday afternoon games. So we'll see what that home field advantage at Yarborough Field will provide. But that should be a really interesting game. Again, big school that's almost 10 times the size, of St. Vincent. Again, just up the road. I think again, that'll be a really interesting game. But the other part of this too is, again, because St. Vincent is so small, they're a Division 7 school, the highest that they can rise for playoffs is to Division 5. Well, based on this schedule and based on kind of where they're starting in the preseason rankings, I mean, they're starting number 13 right now in the NCS.
Are you thinking open, Gus?
I'm saying there's a non-zero chance that happens. I mean, again, looking at their schedule, if they win out in their non-league schedule, if they beat Woodland, if they beat American Canyon, if they beat Arcata, Rancho, I mean, if they head into league 5-0, I don't think they should have any problem squeezing through league, undefeated as well. I mean, if St. Vincent goes 10-0, or even if they go 9-1, even with like a loss at a Rancho or something, I'd say the possibility definitely is there that they rise up all the way into the top 8 in the North Coast section, in which case they would be brought up and have to play the likes of Pittsburgh, De La Salle, probably Newman, Marin Catholic in there. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to kind of see. I mean, again, this is also a reason, St. Vincent, rolled its way to the Division 5 NCS title last year, and then, like you said, they got bumped up into a higher division for the state playoffs. That'll be interesting as well to watch too. I should have said that there were 3 storylines to watch, but 2 years ago it was Division 6 AA. Last year it was 4 AA. This year, if they make it back and they have another great season, are they all the way up in 3? Could they? I mean, I don't see them going up to 2. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see. Again, this is so far down the road. I don't want to count our chickens here or count our eggs before chickens before the eggs hatch or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's like, we've seen St. Vincent being able to handle their business at 6 and at 4. Where would they be placed this year if they do make it back? Which I'm going to say that I think there's a very good chance that they do. I'm going to say that, again, I think it's a non-zero chance that, that they make the Open. I don't think it's likely, in which case they'll be in Division 5 again, in which case I think they should probably have a pretty, I don't want to say an easy time to win section again, but it won't be as difficult, obviously, as being an open. So I think if they get sent back to Division 5 NCS, they're going to win that, and they're going to go back to a regional bowl game and have a chance again to three-peat. This is just my take on it. But it'll if that does happen, it'll be fascinating to see kind of where they end up in the division for where the CIF believes that they belong.
Yeah, no doubt. And kind of one more point before we move on here, but yeah, kind of you mentioned the CIF the CIF system, right? It's more the NCS, the new NCS system is more tailored to what the CIF does now with the competitive equity and things like that, and it doesn't really matter the size of the schools or anything like that. That's why you'll go back and remember, in the Division 6 bowl game, Division 6 NorCal bowl game, St. Vincent was paired up with Palo Alto, who has a enrollment of over 2,000 kids, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting, like Gus said. But I'm excited to see what St. Vincent does this year. They've been exciting to watch the past couple of years, and we'll see what's going on. But Gus, real quick, moving on here, because we also have another state champion to talk about over in Napa County, the first Napa County school to win a state football title, and actually first since 2007 to win a section title, that coming in the form of the American Canyon Wolves. Before we get started with what they look like this year, obviously, you kind of already talked about a big coaching change, but this was also a big coaching change here. Second year head coach Trevor Hudson stepping down after 2 years to take over a Powerhouse Colorado program in Pine Creek. So he's over in Colorado now, but he led the Wolves to the Division 5. I think it was a state title last season after putting up an amazing postseason performance where they won a section title, NorCal title, and now a state title. So we'll kind of see what the Wolves are like. Obviously, with the new head coach, they brought their JV coach up, Marcellus Holmes. He's been with these kids forever, so he knows them quite well. They do bring a lot of returners back. They do have a new quarterback for the departed Mason Harris, who was instrumental, obviously, in the state title win last year. But sophomore Cameron Hunter is going to take the reins. He looked pretty good in his couple of appearances last year as a freshman. But obviously, they still bring back loads of talent. They bring back, Andre Lopez, one of the best running backs in the North Bay last season. They bring back some of the best line play in Evan Emmons, Sam Escobar Montoya. Cole Golar is still one of the best defensive backs in the area. Jonah Budu is one of the best linebackers in the area. And they do have some speed on the outside in Evan Paris, Webster Burks, and Kamani Santos as well. So they do bring a lot of kids back, Gus, and they have all the tools to make a deep run yet again. They do have they have up their schedule a little bit. Obviously, like we said, they play St. Vincent. That'll be a monumental matchup, obviously, second week of the season. That's obviously their hardest test of the preseason. They also have Wilsey, Wood, Hayward, and Benicia before league play begins. But they definitely have upped the competition a little bit. So not sure what the identity of this Wolves team is going to be. Like in years past, we kind of knew what we were getting with Trevor Hudson's Wolves, Gus. But it'll be interesting to see what Coach Holmes does with this group of guys and kind of molds them into his own philosophy and things like that. So time will tell. But the Wolves are bringing back all the tools to make another deep postseason run.
Yeah, I mean, when you rattle off some of the guys that they have, I mean, obviously, having to replace Mason Harris is a big loss. I know Cameron Hunter I think he performed pretty well, I think, in the couple of games that he had stepped up. So he should be an exciting young quarterback to watch this year. But the pieces that they have coming back, in all area, running back and Andre Lopez, some super talented linemen, some good players on defense too. I mean, those are all the pieces that you kind of, are looking for if you want to kind of build, off of what you did last year. They had a really interesting season last year too. I mean, they started out the year 8-0. They looked like they were heading for a spot maybe in the Division 2 or Division 3 NCS playoffs, and then they dropped their final 2 games, and then actually dropped them all the way down to the Division 4 playoffs, which might have made the path, dare I say it, a wee bit easier. But again, you still have to win the games, and they did. College Park they had to win without Mason Harris playing. They won that one out 7-0, and then they easily took care of Granada. Had a grinder against Redwood, won by a touchdown, to win the NCS title, and then they run wild over Lassen, in their NorCal Bowl game, and then the Palmdale game, where they won the state championship.
The NASCAR race.
Didn't they set the
they tied it. They tied it. Yeah, they tied the state record for most points in a game. This is per Cal High Sports, by the way. It was like 68 points. The final score was like 68-47, Gus. It was
yeah.
It was like like a NASCAR race.
Crazy shootout. So, I mean, again, without Mason Harris, without some of those really good offensive guys, who graduated, we'll see kind of how high powered their offense is. But a guy like Andre Lopez is a total game breaker. I mean, he ran for almost 2,000 yards, 25 touchdowns last year, and he's coming back for a senior year. There's not many juniors who do that and then come back for, one more year. So, I think there are definitely a lot of questions about what this American Canyon team will look like. But I think, again, with all the talent they have coming back, they'll definitely be in the mix. I'd say for sure in the Redwood Empire, Valley Conference, and definitely come NCS playoff time. So,
yeah, absolutely. And you kind of go back to the interesting season real quick. That Redwood win came off because Redwood was one of the two games they dropped so they had to kind of rematch them and win it. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, two state champions looking to defend their title, Gus. But I'm gonna throw it to you real quick because our last kind of talking point here, and you've been so good, last year with your predictions across all sports and everything like that. Giving you some props here and well deserved, obviously. But the new NCS format, Gus. Little controversial, mixed opinions, as we kind of expected a little bit. You can't please everybody, obviously, but with 1 year of this NCS system in the books, kind of what are your takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely pretty eye-opening to really kind of dive into it towards the end of last year and really figure out what it all meant. I think there were a lot of people who kind of had first gotten their first taste of it in the volleyball playoffs, which had happened a couple weeks before, but yeah. I don't think people had really paid a ton of attention to that until it really started to happen to football. Yeah, I mean, it was fascinating to kind of break it down. I mean, again, the biggest thing, and I wrote about this a ton last year, was how this system really benefits the larger schools and really hurts the smaller schools. So I forget the exact number, but I think there was only like 2 or 3, I think Division 7 schools that actually made the NCS playoffs last year. Meanwhile, there was, I want to say, 8 or 9 or at least from Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. So basically what happened is all of these larger schools teams that play harder schedules, that play better competition, even if they went under 500, well, they were still ranked, inside the top 56 or, I guess the baseline for where you have to be, ranked in order to make the playoffs. And so all of those teams made the playoffs. But instead of staying in the divisions that they normally would stay in, they dropped down to smaller divisions based on this new system, and they bumped out all these smaller teams. So it's been an interesting offseason because I've had a number of conversations with some smaller school coaches and with some larger school coaches about kind of possible fixes, how to address these things. It definitely, like the NCS and Commissioner Pat Cruikshank definitely know that the system needs some tweaking, but they haven't quite, I guess, bit the bullet to make any of those adjustments or tweaks yet. The system is still going to be in place for this, year and all, across all sports. But I would not be surprised at all if the NCS does look to tweak it and make some changes and adjustments to it for the 26-27 school year. But I mean, over the offseason, I heard that there were a number of challenges, a number of adjustments, provisions filed by essentially a lot of the smaller school leagues, especially the North Central League One, St. Helena, Cloverdale, Middletown, Kelseyville, a lot of the Lake County schools. All of those provisions and adjustments were voted down, at the NCS level. Again, all the larger schools just kind of vote as a block, and this system benefits them more than anyone else. So they want to kind of keep it as it is. So But again, the NCS has acknowledged, hey, maybe we do need to kind of make some changes here. Maybe we do have to adjust it. So again, that probably will be happening. It just won't be happening this year. I think they've kind of stood pat on this being a 2 year, at the very least, a 2 year kind of playoff format, and then I think after this year they're going to go back to the drawing board and maybe try to figure out some changes and stuff. But yeah, definitely. I mean, controversial in the fact that again, deserving small schools. Like, I mean, again, the biggest example last year was Willits. Willits, small Division 7 team. They finished second place in their league. They went 8-2 on the year. They missed the playoffs because they're just outside of I think it was a top 56, top 60 that they had to be in to make the playoffs. So, and then again, you have Division 1 teams that are 3-7 or 4-6 or 5-5 that because they hit the minimum playoff requirements and they're inside the top 56. Well, hey, they're in, and not only are they in, they're going to drop down a division or two, and again play quote unquote easier competition, or I guess more even competition, versus again these Division 7 teams that are more than deserving not making it in. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, again, I think a lot of teams are aware. They like now a lot of teams know about how this system works. I mean, I remember last year when I was putting out my projections, I was having big time East Bay coaches reach out to me being like, hey, how did you get this? How did you do this? So I think there was a lot of people who didn't fully understand how the system worked last year. That's for sure changed this year. People understand how it works. I don't want to say there's going to be people gaming the system, but I do know for sure that there have been some teams that have been like, hey, maybe we should probably not schedule as hard as we did, or maybe we should try to, schedule in some other teams in our division that we can, that might be, easier games to win or something. So there are definitely some, yeah, people are, again, this is the system that they have in front of them, and they're being like, all right, how do we figure this out? So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out again this year, especially later in the season. Once where it becomes like, hey, a win or a loss can move you up a division or two, and either make you a 1 or a 2 seed in a lower division, or an 8 or 7 or an 8 seed in a higher division. That'll be fascinating to see, especially how the last couple weeks play out. But I will again be doing my projections, and hopefully they're as accurate as they were last year. I think I got almost all of them right. So. Again, not to toot my own horn here, but but yeah, it was interesting. It was definitely interesting to follow, and I know it's very kind of inside baseball, and it's it's one of these things that's only if you really care or are passionate about it, or you're living in it, do you actually care about these kind of things. But it does impact a lot of the teams that we cover. So anyway, we will definitely keeping an eye on that and how that all plays out this year. So yeah.
Yeah, it's great, and keep in mind for those that are listening that the playoff eligibility criteria has not changed, right? It's still the three ways you can either overall record 500 or more, league record 500 or better, or within your own base division, 500 or better. So those three criteria remain the same, and they have been for a little bit. So we'll see if maybe that could be the thing that's kind of tweaking because so many teams become playoff eligible. But
well, and it's funny you mentioned that because that actually was one of the provisions that somebody had tried to introduce. I think it was eliminating the 500 record against teams in your division. I think it was because at this point, playing in your division doesn't really matter since it is
everyone moves up.
Because everyone will move. We'll move like up or down anyway. But that provision was voted down already. So maybe if it's brought back to the board, next year or something after after other things happen, this season, maybe it'll change. But that one's already been voted on, and people wanted to keep that as is. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, I would be shocked if there weren't any changes for this, for the format heading into 26-27. But I know for a fact that we're just kind of keeping it as is for 25-26, and teams are just going to have to figure it out.
Yep. Yeah, well, they have a year of experience, so hopefully they, and it was kind of hard, coming in with like no preparation with this NCS thing, because the fall sports are kind of the first sports out of the gate, so they had no preparation for this. Where you had teams like sports like basketball, baseball, that saw what happened in the fall with like volleyball and stuff like that. So, it'll be interesting to see how teams kind of attack the second year. For sure.
Yeah, and kind of last thing before we let all you guys go and enjoy the rest of your guys' game week. But this is also the second year of the Redwood Empire Conference. First year was a super fun, smashing success. I thought all the league races were really exciting. The Adobe provided marquee games every week. I mean, again, even in the Valley division, the second division, we saw a team win, and then we saw a second team win a state championship. The Bay Division, we saw a team win a state championship. That league came down to the wire. Even in the lowest division in the Mountain, we saw a team kind of rise out of the ashes, in Sonoma Valley and win, their first league title in decades. So all four of those league races provided, something super exciting to watch. This year, I don't think should be any different. I think it all honestly might be a little more evenly matched across the board. I mean, again, maybe outside of
Yeah.
the Adobe, even the Adobe, I think could be, I don't want to say it's up for grabs, but that's going to be even more of a juggernaut, and just more of attrition this year. But I think Mountains kind of, Mountain Division, I think, is up for grabs. Valley, I think, is up for grabs. I think St. Vincent is going to be hard to unseat in the Bay, but really excited to kind of see how the league races play out this year too. And I bring this up because this is the second year of this realignment. This is going to be the last year of its current alignment format. So all these leagues are going to be switched up, or most of these leagues are going to be switched up for the 26-27 school year. So some teams might be moving up, some teams might be might be moving down. For St. Vincent's, probably going to be moving up. Some other teams might be moving up. Just depends kind of where they go, who falls down. So yeah, just enjoy these league races while you can this year, because next year we'll have some new teams in the mix and different faces throughout all these leagues. So it should be fun. And again, always kind of exciting to kind of see how this goes. So
Yeah, the amount of storylines this newly created, because keep in mind it's the former North Bay League, the former Vine Valley Athletic League, and the former Marin County Athletic League. They all came together, right? So the storylines produced last year was pretty fascinating, and there were a lot of them too. It made us work that much harder, Gus. But no, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and I don't expect anything different this time around. So. Um, yeah, I mean, it all gets started this week. We got some great interconference matchups too, in between the Redwood Empire, or interdivisional, should I say, in between the Redwood Empire Conference. Some of the, Adobe teams playing the Valley teams, so on and so forth. Adobe teams playing the Bay teams. So yeah, I'm excited for it, and it all starts this week.
should be great. Yeah, keep an eye out again. This will be whenever this pod comes out, our first poll will be out. We'll have games of the week and our predictions coming back again, later this week. Games to watch. Keenan will have our first game of the week coverage, Ukiah against Rancho Cotati, which I think should be an awesome, awesome game just to kick off the slate. Yeah, and we're going to be here for the next, what do we got? 3.5 months, I want to say. So,
Back again, baby.
back again. We ain't going nowhere. So thanks again, everyone who tuned in. Excited for another year of high school football in the North Bay, and excited for all the stuff that we're planning on bringing you guys. So definitely stay tuned over the coming months. It should be a fun year again.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.